I'm Darren from Poole Central Library, and today I'm going to talk about graphic novels for grown-ups. We all know about superhero comics from DC and Marvel, such as Batman or the Avengers, but comics and graphic novels are so much more than that. I'm going to introduce you to some of my favourites that we have in stock at Poole Library. First up is Starlight, The Return of Duke McQueen. This is a novel take on the superhero genre, with the main character an ageing Air Force pilot whose tales of travel to alien planets no one believes. Following the death of his wife, he lives alone, largely forgotten by his two sons, but events conspire to take him back to a planet that he once saved, whose citizens are again in need of a hero. Another hugely influential take on the superhero genre is Watchmen. Originally published in 1986, Watchmen explores the morality of superheroes, portraying them as vigilantes within the backdrop of Cold War politics. Alan Moore also explores the nature of vigilantism in the critically acclaimed V for Vendetta. While this is one of the BBC's 100 novels that shaped our world, V has a particularly British perspective of a Britain under the control of a totalitarian regime. With nods to Orwell's 1984, the government is always spying on its citizens, but the anonymous anarchist, V, manages to evade their gaze and conduct an increasingly audacious series of terrorist attacks. This is much more complex than the 2005 film adaptation and is definitely worth a read. Another of the BBC 100 novels that shaped our world is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. The Sandman was originally published as monthly comics, but is now available in 10 of these trade paperbacks. The series tells the story of Dream of the Endless, following his escape from capture at the hands of an occultist looking to escape death. This combines mythology and folklore and fable and Gaiman's own mythical creations, the Endless, who are anthropomorphic personifications of concepts such as dream, death, and destiny. And this was the very first graphic novel series that I ever read. And it was so different from everything that I'd read before and kind of really hooked me on reading graphic novels. Moving on from folklore to history, Art Spiegelman's Pulitzer Prize-winning Mouse is a tale of both his father's experience of the Holocaust and his own experience of his relationship with his father. Drawn in black and white, with mice representing Jews and cats in place of Nazis, it portrays the bleak choices that many had to make just in order to survive. Another critically acclaimed true story is Persepolis, which is the story of Marjan Satrapi's childhood in Iran, before and during the Islamic Revolution, and then her later return to the country. Like Mouse, Persepolis is entirely in black and white, and whilst it's sometimes bleak, it portrays a somewhat different picture of Iran to the nation that is often portrayed in the media. Finally, we have two critically acclaimed series from Image Comics. Paper Girls is, as the name suggests, about a group of paper girls in 1980s America. They get caught up in a war between time travellers and have to undergo an epic journey in order to find their way home. It's a glorious mix of 80s nostalgia, pulp sci-fi, and a great coming-of-age story. For me, this is probably the best comic that I've read since I read The Sandman nearly 20 years ago. And finally, my final choice is Monstress. This is a dark fantasy set in a matriarchal world inspired by 20th century Asia. I've only read the first volume of this, but the artwork is gorgeous, and like Paper Girls, offers a female-focused perspective that is often missing from mainstream comics. Of the comics presented in this video, this is the only one that's still being published as a serial. It's currently at 30 issues long, and those have been collected into fine volumes like this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know what your favourite comics are on the BCP Libraries Facebook page.